Who's scruffy looking?
Welcome back, everyone, to the Talking with My Hans channel. You guys are listening to episode 4 of FAN-terviews. Who would have thought we would have got to episode 4? That's kind of crazy. I think I said it in the last episode, too. I never thought we'd get to episode 3, but yet again, here we are. This is probably one of our best guests. I'm not going to lie to you. We've had a lot of good guests. Luke was an awesome guest. Olivia was fantastic. Chloe was amazing. I never thought I'd get that many words out of Chloe. And here we are. We have another highly, highly, highly anticipated guest. This guy has been in my comments in Twitter multiple times. People have been like, hey, is this you coming on FAN-terviews? And he's got to be like, no, it wasn't me. This time we finally got him on. It's Jordan Skywalker from Twitter.
Hello,
or maybe
everyone.
Jordan. And of course, maybe as some of you know him, Media13 here on this platform, on YouTube. You are blowing up on both places. I just want to say that you told me that you have some fantastic insider Media13 info that you want to share on this program. We're going to save that till later. Am I right?
I do. Yep.
Excellent. Jordan, first of all, thank you so much for being on. This is kind of crazy because I just said, like, you have been, maybe not you directly, but like people have been adding you in my mentions, like, to be on this show. So I was like, it's meant to be. You got to be on.
I mean, yeah, I've seen so many people doing it. It's like, that's an honor that you're even considering me, but I don't think it would happen. And then here I am. So it's just, yeah, it's actually incredible to be on this.
Well, you know what? When I started the series, I really wanted to highlight some really awesome fans, people that I know, people that are on Twitter especially.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank with you, there are a couple accounts in my head that rattle around when I think about, oh, that's Star Wars Twitter. And you are one of those accounts. You know, you are part of the handful of people that like come up in my brain when I think, oh, Star Wars Twitter, like who's on there? One of the first people I always think of is Jordan Skywalker. It comes up every single time.
That's probably because I'm never off your timeline, though, with the amount of times I tweet a day.
You are on the timeline quite a bit. I gotta admit, you are always on there. Do you ever feel like that tires you out? Don't you ever get like a little burnt out from Twitter?
I mean, not really. There is times where I'll think to myself, right, I'm going to just shut it off for the rest of the day. Just, if you ever see me tweeting that, just give it 5 minutes. You'll see me in someone's replies. And like, I can't stay away. It's too much fun.
It's funny, isn't it, how just addicting it is? And it's funny that like, I started this series and I never thought like that I would actually meet any of these people that I followed on Twitter. And now I've met 3 of you guys, 3 awesome members of Star Wars Twitter. It's crazy, actually. And you are from completely across the world. And I just think that is, for me personally, one of the coolest parts of this fandom is that like there are people all over the world that love Star Wars, and that we live in this day and age where like we can meet those people. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Star Wars Twitter has done. It's introduced me to so many amazing people like yourself. Like you said, your guests that you've had in the past. So many great people that I wouldn't have met without Star Wars, without the sort of online presence being what it is today.
And you know what? It's sort of weird when I think about, because in the 70s, in the 80s, when Star Wars first came out, when it was probably arguably bigger than it is today, could you imagine what would have gone down if they had Zoom, if they had, Twitter, if they had Facebook? That would have been a crazy time. I would have loved to see that.
Yeah, it's funnily enough, I was thinking about that just earlier today.
Really?
Like, what would there be as much divisiveness if they had the online presence that we do now? Would there be sort of that sort of reluctance to enjoy it 100% like there is with the newer films?
Absolutely. I don't doubt that at all. I definitely think there would have been. People are just, I think I'm starting to get to this point where like, I'm starting to not give reasons to the divisiveness anymore. I'm just like, people are just divisive, period. Like, that's the reason, right? Like, people just want to be contrarians. They just want to say something that's not right. That's just who people are, and you get that on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I get that with some of them, but it's maybe my reluctance to admit that someone's actually wrong. I like to think that everybody has sort of valid points to make, even if they don't say them clearly half the time, but they're there somewhere.
And that makes you a much better person than me most of the time. I promise you. There are times where I'm on the timeline and I'm just like, you know what? That's enough Twitter for today. Time to put this away. But we'll get to Twitter. We'll talk about that more later in the show. But the first question that I always ask on fan-terviews, and it's a question that a lot of people ask on Star Wars interview shows. I ask it a little differently because I don't want to know your entire Star Wars life story. I don't want to know when the first time you saw Star Wars was. I don't want to hear the whole, I was 4, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. That's everybody's story. I want to know that moment in time when you watched Star Wars and you finally said, you know what, this is for me. This is what I really, really love.
I mean, I'm really easily won over, so I need to disappoint you and say that it just starts at the start of my Star Wars story.
And you know what? Sometimes that happens.
2015, The Force Awakens, without any knowledge whatsoever of Star Wars. I'd seen no trailers. An hour before the first screening in my town, friend says to me, like, do you want to come and see this film? I'm bored out of my mind, so I say, yeah, sure, why not? So I go and see it, and I like it from the start. I immediately connect with Rey, as I talked about in my video. But the moment for me that really made me stop and say, yeah, this is for me. It's that moment on Starkiller Base in the third act where Kylo's pulling the lightsaber, it flies right past his face and into Rey's hand. The music starts, and I just got chills, man. Yeah. Just from that moment, I was like, I'm completely head over heels for this franchise.
It's crazy. And you know what? You actually, that moment, I'm sure you share with a lot of people. And it's because even me, who's been watching Star Wars since I was, God knows how old, even that moment, after a lifetime of being a fan, that moment still gave me chills. You're so right. I mean, like that was one of those moments for a generation of fans that like is just going to carry with them for the rest of their lives.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree. That's sort of so many people. I kind of go in with the younger generation in the sense that the sequel trilogy is my generation of Star Wars because it's where I fell into it. Mm-hmm. But that scene, it's always going to be in my mind first when I think of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's like, really fun.
When people think Star Wars, some of them see, Twin Sunset. For me, it's Rey holding that lightsaber. She is in shock just as much as we are. Mm-hmm. I imagine off screen, she is not thinking it's going to happen at all. Right. Yeah, it's just amazing.
I remember that vividly. I remember that moment in the film so clear. Like I just saw it yesterday. And I don't know, it's funny that like we were all shocked that it happened, right? Like it was so funny that like we were all like, oh my God, I can't believe that actually happened. I mean, like she used the mind trick earlier in the movie. Yeah. Like were we all sleeping during that point? Like what happened? Like did we not actually think that was going to happen? I don't know what we were all on that night. Like we must have just been really crazy tunnel vision. But like,
yeah, I mean, I think part of me knew something like it would happen, but it's just the way it was executed.
Yeah,
like she's not. If I remember it correctly, she's not on screen for a good minute before that because it's the Finn versus Kylo fight. Mm-hmm. So she's out of the picture for that moment. So she's not really in your head when it's happening. I think that plays into the shock value of it because like, oh wait, here's Rey. I forgot she was here.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's beautiful filmmaking. Like that's one of the great things about filmmaking is when people talk about it like this, and you realize this stuff that they probably do in the edit, or maybe they talked about like just offhandedly, like, oh, we need to put Rey in the background here and make it seem like she's not there, and then all of a sudden, bam, she's there. I love that part of filmmaking. I love when I find out that kind of stuff. It intrigues the hell out of me. I love it. Anyway, what were we talking about? The Force Awakens. We were talking about you. We were talking about Rey. I told you, Rey is by far the biggest inspiration for you. Am I wrong?
I'd say so. I think you just have to take one look at my Twitter account, and that's fairly obvious. I mean, I tweet about her at least once a day. I somehow shoehorn her name into every single YouTube video I make. It's just the connection that I share with that character, I'll never fully get across. There's still points that I could have used in that YouTube video that I dropped out because I want to try and keep them at that similar length. Maybe I'll make a sequel someday, who knows? But
please do. Please do.
But no, it's just, there's something about her, man. I don't know whether it was the fact that she obviously we know now with subtext she was Palpatine's blood, but just the fact that she rose from nothing and sort of started the journey on her own, obviously with the help of Finn and friends that she met along the way. But she's just such a strong character, man. And I don't know, every scene she's in, it helps with the performance as well. But I just, I don't even know what the word, I'm mesmerized whenever she's on screen.
As Star Wars just in general has that effect, doesn't it? Like there's always those few characters, and for you it's your main favorite character, but there are always those few characters that in Star Wars that I have not realized in any other movie franchise. Now I'm not, a huge fan of like Marvel and DC. I'm not on that fandom train, but I know for a fact that in all these movies that I've seen in my entire life, there's no other franchise where you're just sort of mesmerized by characters for almost no given reason other than Star Wars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't understand what it is about like some Star Wars character. They could be on screen for 2 seconds. You're like, that was my favorite character. And you're like, what? Why?
I mean, you say that. Look at people with Boba Fett. I didn't know anyone was a fan of him until I joined Twitter, and I've talked to so many people where that's their favorite character.
And you're like, how?
I'm not familiar with. Before I joined Twitter, I wasn't familiar with anything outside the films. And obviously I know now that he actually, like, spoiler alert, in case you didn't realize, he actually survived, which I was like, okay, that happened. Didn't know about this. But
yeah, right.
It's just insane to know that Star Wars seems to have these way with characters. Like, Lucasfilm have these way with the characters where they're just so easily likable. They're instantly appealable to you. It's just, they do so well with such little. Like, it doesn't matter how much screen time they have.
It's crazy that it's almost like not even like good guys. Like, it's not like, oh my God, I love all the good guys and I hate all the bad guys. Like, there are people that they just love the bad guys too. Like,
because
it goes both ways.
Well, yeah, most iconic face in film, in my opinion, Darth Vader. Another most iconic face. Fair enough, it's not a major character, but it's more of the army of the stormtrooper. I mean, that helmet is ingrained in, I think, most people's memories, even if you haven't seen Star Wars.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's people that have favorite characters that are stormtroopers, right? Like, think about all the people that dress up as stormtroopers all over the world, own $1,000 suits and so stormtrooper armor. Like, it's wild. Oh my God, I pray every day that this one will just fall from the sky, because it's not like I have $1,000 roaming around to get one of those. But maybe one day it'll just fall down and it'll be right there for me. Yeah, I want to talk about.
I'll get the Obi-Wan cosplay out the way first, and then.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen. My roommate went as Obi-Wan Kenobi one Halloween, and I went as Anakin Skywalker in college. That was a fun time. He had a good Obi-Wan cosplay. He even grew out the beard and everything. Like, he looked like Ben Kenobi. It was really weird.
See, I've got the beard done.
You do have the beard. You got a nice one going there.
Thank you. I'm not really sure I'm a fan of it at the length it's at right now. I'm probably going to need to get rid of some of it.
Well, hopefully some people will go over to YouTube and set you straight. If you haven't checked out Jordan's YouTube yet, by the way, this is a little side plug. He'll plug you more at the end, and the links, of course, will be in the description, as they always are. Media13 over on YouTube. First of all, the guy's got a great beard. I mean, let's just be honest. This guy's got a god-tier beard. And he makes some really, really high-quality videos. Fantastic video essays. If you're into that sort of thing, if you're into video essays, if you're into sequel trilogy love, if you're into Rey, man, he's putting out videos almost, it seems like every week. This guy, and they're not even, low quality. I mean, this guy's making some really, really high-quality stuff. So make sure you go over there and check out the beard. Check out the content, which is actually better than the beard, which is another mesmerizing thing that's happening today. But I want to talk about Jordan. A lot of people don't have a memory of what their favorite Star Wars thing is. A lot of people can't remember the first time. They're like, oh my God, I'll never forget that first time I saw General Veers and he became my favorite Star Wars thing ever. But you were introduced to Star Wars in your adult life, essentially, and you can remember everything that's happened. So I want to ask you, and I want to ask you why, because you'll have the answer to why what your favorite Star Wars thing is.
I mean, if I have to be real, it's not even so much a film thing or any sort of content thing within Star Wars. I just, well, maybe as a whole it is, but I like how expansive it is. Just the fact that there is something in this franchise for everyone. Like, if you prefer watching films, you prefer watching binging TV shows.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have time for that, but you enjoy reading in your free time, or you enjoy gaming. There's something there for you to enjoy within this franchise. I mean, I love what they're doing in recent years with some of the novels. You know, Jedi Fallen Order last year. You don't have to have a vast understanding of this universe to understand those, to get a grip of those.
Yeah, you're totally right. And that, you know, we're at an age now, you know, maybe the 7-year-old or the 6-year-old that's watching Star Wars can't appreciate that, but like us as adults can appreciate that. And you're totally right. You know, that's something that you stumbled upon that you can say like, wow, that's fantastic. Like, you can appreciate that from all different angles. You know, you can appreciate that from like how you just said, like almost a business angle where you're like, there's something for everybody in this. Like, kind of going on all different directions. But like, you also appreciate it as a fan because you're like, you know, even if I get burnt out and I don't want to, you know, watch the Clone Wars today, like I'll go read a book. Like there's 100 books out there that are just fantastic. There are some books, which I'm thinking about making a video on actually, that are better than some of the movies. Like there are some books that are sitting on my bookshelf right now that I'm like, I would rather read that book than watch one of these movies.
I want to see this video now. This actually should happen.
Yeah, and there is. And I'm thinking about it. I'm not saying I'm going to make it, but I'm thinking about it. But you're so right. And it's very interesting that you said that, because I think about that a lot, actually. You know, how Star Wars can be almost as big as you want it to be at some times.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Like, you can shut yourself off from one aspect of it and still enjoy the other without losing really anything at all. Yeah,
and it's just, and like we just said earlier in the show, it appeals to so many people around the world that way that you end up growing this fan base that's massive and so many people love it. And it's, you know, for a lot of people, how we're making a lot of friends. Like you and I met on Twitter, like over Star Wars. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's it. Star Wars has introduced me to so many amazing people. I was going to list that as my favorite thing about it, but I thought I'll try and keep the sappiness for later on.
Save it, all right?
Yeah, I do. I agree with pretty much everything you said there, though. There's something in this for everyone. It doesn't end at the films like a lot of people seem to think it does. It goes so deep, so much deeper than most people can imagine.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt on that one. I want to talk to you about the Star Wars moment or the Star Wars experience. Now that you brought up, you know, you have your more creative answers out tonight. Your Star Wars experience that was the most surprising for you. What was probably so far in your fandom life has been the most surprising thing about Star Wars?
Simple answer: Star Wars Rebels.
Okay.
I didn't start watching that. I didn't watch any of the TV series until I joined Twitter, and I sort of just went through them all really quickly. When I had finished Clone Wars, and I was saying on the timeline about how I was going to be starting Rebels in the next coming days, people were telling me, "Oh, be ready. The first 2 seasons are a slog. You're going to struggle to get through them." And I had my hopes really low. And I don't know whether that's maybe that swayed me, but I went into it and I loved it from minute one. Just everything about it. The characters were so well written. The voice cast was amazing. Just everything about Rebels compared to what I was expecting blew my expectations out of the water. And it's probably one of my favorite Star Wars sort of pieces of content that are out there.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more, to be honest with you. For those of you that don't know, I have not made... I did the unboxing video. For those of you that don't know anyway, big Rebels fan. I'm a huge Rebels guy. I constantly rank it above Clone Wars, actually, in the show tier list. I rank Rebels is my preferred animated Star Wars show. And I totally agree with you. You know, it's one of those shows where if you're a fan of a more intimate story, if you're a fan of something that's more down to earth, something that's more, you know, man to man, it's not so grand in scale, I think you're really going to love Rebels. And I think you can tell me if you agree or not, or Jordan. The prequels and the Clone Wars, which are fantastic, are very grand in scale. They're massive. There's so many things going on. The themes are broad and wide, and it's just everything is bigger, bigger, bigger. You know, every single episode of the prequels, from the Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones to now, then Revenge of the Sith, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so does the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars kind of just like bigger battles, bigger this, bigger that. And that's fantastic, don't get me wrong. But I think Rebels in the original trilogy is more about an intimate story. Like it's more focused. It's more narrow-minded. It's more focused on the relationships between characters. And that's what really drove me to Rebels, was how closely it relates to the original trilogy like that.
Yeah, I do definitely agree with you. I think to have this massive scale from the prequel era that just keeps going and going and going, getting grander every single time, and then just to hit home hard with this story that's driven by, well, literally is found family. It's Ezra finding a new family in the crew. I'm blanking. I don't know the name of the crew.
It's Phoenix Squadron.
Phoenix Squadron, yeah. It's the found family nature of it. The fact that it's close to home. There's so many intimate moments with these characters that I'm not trying to say they didn't get in the prequel era.
No, because
they didn't really get enough of.
It's a show that I totally agree with you there. It draws you in from minute one. Like from the second that show starts, you just want to know more about these characters. Like there's just Kanan especially mesmerizes me. Kanan is one of those characters that I just keep going back to. Like he made my top 3 for new canon characters, but he might make my top 10 all time. Like Star Wars characters.
I will say right now, he's in my top 3 all time.
It's just fantastic. I mean, it's just a fantastic. And Freddie Prinze Jr., fantastic voice actor for Kanan.
See, when I found out that was him, I had a bit of a meltdown. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I clocked on out season 2 that was Freddie Prinze Jr. and I can't quite describe what was going on in my head at that time.
It's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? Just a really good actor. Who would have thought he would have gave that good of a performance?
Yeah, I know.
Crazy stuff. All right, let's get a little bit more intimate here. Speaking of intimacy, I'm going to ask you what your least favorite Star Wars thing is. What is the least favorite Star Wars thing, least favorite Star Wars experience that you have had in your young fandom life?
This is a difficult one. I don't know if I have a least favorite because it's been such a high ride. If I had to pick something that I'd rank low, however, and I know straight out right now, I'm going to say something I often say on my channel. This is my opinion. You're welcome to disagree. But I struggled with the Clone Wars, man. I get that it's a popular TV show. I get that people love it, but about 85% of it, I just couldn't get with it at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because, I said I loved Rebels. I loved it for its intimacy and how close the characters were. I will say out right now, I appreciate that the Clone Wars is a good show. It's just not my thing because of the fact that it's so grand in scale. I mean, it's the prequel era ramped up to 100, if that makes sense. I mean, you're never focusing on more than one. You're never focusing on the one group for more than 3 or 4 episodes, and that's what kind of continuously threw me off. Maybe a chronological rewatch might help, but for the meantime, I think I'm okay just saying, I wasn't huge on the Clone Wars, but that could change in the future.
Very interesting. And you know what? That is the contrarian opinion, man. You just gave one of the hottest takes, I think, on this channel. Is a guy that did not totally relate with the Clone Wars. And you know what? It's funny that you say that because you came to Star Wars after the Clone Wars had ended. And there are not many people that we know from Twitter, from YouTube, that jumped in that late. So the fact that you said, you know what, the Clone Wars didn't resonate with me, but Rebels did because it was a little bit later, that's really interesting. Yeah. That's really fascinating. I never, first of all, I never met anybody that, now I knew this, but now I'm like, wow, I don't think I can name people off the top of my head that said, the Clone Wars just never resonated with me. But it's something that we have said Jordan on this channel. I think Chloe said it or Olivia said it. Someone said it on this series. The viewers can go back and they can probably tell me. I have a terrible
I'll go back
memory.
and tell after this.
You'll probably come back and tell me. I know you will be in the comment section. But someone said that it's the same thing that you did. It could have been me. I don't know. But the series does bounce around, and you never seem to get to know one cat. Like, people struggle, even the most diehard Clone Wars fans will struggle to come up with a main character from that show. The consensus is that it's Ahsoka and Rex, but the argument can be made that
I would say
Anakin is.
If I had to, yeah. And if I had to say one, I would probably say it was Ahsoka, because she is probably the most consistent. I mean, I could be wrong. I've not checked to see who has the most episodes, but I definitely remember more of her story than anyone else's in the show.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's hard to, in that show, obviously there is growth in the characters, and that's very evident that there is growth in the characters. You both see it, you feel it. You can break it down as far as you want to go in that show, but it's hard to just point out moments in that show where you say that was character growth. There might be a handful of moments in that show, especially in the later seasons, not too much in the early seasons, where you're like, that character grew right there.
The show was just filled with high and lows. I mean, there was one, is the Mortis arc season 3, I want to say. I could be wrong, it could be season 4.
I think it was 3.
Right. The Mortis arc shocked me because it was at a point where I was thinking, do I just dip on this show? Like, am I really going to miss out on much? I could even just watch season 7. I probably wouldn't lose much. But then the stuff with Ahsoka happened. Ian, people know what happens with Ahsoka in the Mortis arc. You've all seen it. That stuff happened, and I was like, wow, I've been on Twitter saying I don't really care for this character yet, but I genuinely cared in that moment. That was hard for me to sit through. So for that reason, I do applaud the Clone Wars, because I didn't like her at first, which I suppose is what a lot of fans felt, but Ahsoka has become one of my favourite characters, and part of that is because of Clone Wars. I mean, you have the Siege of Mandalore. I think a lot of people can agree that is probably one of the best pieces of Star Wars media, and I won't disagree with that. I absolutely love it.
Yes.
But yeah, Clone Wars had its ups and downs for me, but Ahsoka is right up there with every moment it peaked.
Interesting. And you know what? I had the same reaction you did, and I saw when I was a kid, I saw the Clone Wars come out in theaters. The Clone Wars movie I saw in theaters, which was admittedly a mistake. I did not enjoy that movie.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It wasn't that bad. You're right. It wasn't terrible. There are moments in that movie. I think I said it on Twitter a while ago. It's even the music makes me cringe in that movie. Like, if there's one Star Wars movie where the music stinks, I don't know what was up with like the heavy rock and like the weird like techno beat that they had going on in that movie. But whatever, teach their own. They thought it was good. Lucasfilm makes a lot more money than I do, so I'm not going to question it. But it's funny that you said that Ahsoka didn't resonate with you right off the bat, because for so many people, so many people, and you hear the term, the silent majority today, where it talks about, it's only, a few people yelling on Twitter that actually dislike it. I can assure you that the majority of people really disliked Ahsoka at the time. And feel bad for Ashley Eckstein. I really do. But you know what? She stuck with the character. Dave stuck with it. And she ended up being a can't miss, a top 10 all time.
I mean, look at it now. It could have been so easy for them to go, right, we're going to start this TV series, but something happened off screen. Ahsoka's no longer there with Anakin. Mm-hmm. But they stuck with it. They knew what they were doing with it. They probably knew what they wanted to do with it, and it paid off massively.
It ended up being probably a masterstroke, probably one of the top 5 masterstrokes Lucasfilm's ever thrown out there. To stick with Ahsoka. And Lucasfilm's got a lot of magic. I mean, they've had a lot of magic in these years, but to stick with Ahsoka, to just stick with your gut, and for them to trust Dave Filoni like that, and to trust, that George said this is going to be fine, is that takes some guts, man. Because you can't tell me they weren't reading those comments. They were everywhere. The movie reviews were everywhere. Ahsoka's. Man, you got to know they read that stuff, and you got to know that they were like, I don't know about this character, but they stuck with it.
Yeah, that's one thing I will always applaud them for. They seem to know that if they've got an idea in their mind, regardless of the hate, they're going to persevere with that because they feel that that's the best way to go with it. And I do have a lot of respect for them in that regard. Absolutely. A lot of movie studios probably do just conform to what they see initial reactions being, and that ends up sometimes actually harming it as well.
Absolutely. And you know what? This is not on our list of questions, but where that really shines out is when Rian Johnson got announced to have his own trilogy. You remember that day? Do you remember when Rian Johnson was given his own trilogy?
I'm still out for that happening.
I got that. I don't have it bookmarked on my computer, but maybe I should because I was afraid that tab's going to never exist anymore. I remember that day. It was before the movie came out, before The Last Jedi came out. Lucasfilm saw what he did, and they said, this man deserves his own trilogy. And they gave it to him.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for that. And I'm almost certain, I'm 99% sure that will work out for them. That's going to pay off huge.
I've said it a few times. This is going to be another one of my famous controversial takes that don't happen often, but I genuinely think that if Rian Johnson was to get his own Star Wars trilogy with his own characters, own story to tell, he could probably get the closest to sort of somewhat reuniting this fan base. And I get a lot of people don't like him, but most of the haters that I've talked to acknowledge that The Last Jedi is a beautifully made film and it's got stuff about it that nobody could dislike. I mean, some of the cinematography, absolutely stellar. I mean, I know Rian Johnson isn't the cinematographer, but it's just everything about his movie, for me at least, this is my opinion, it works. And I want to see what he gets with his own trilogy.
And, I've seen a lot of people admit to the fact that I think a lot of people have now accepted the fact that, as good as these movies were, I think I even said it on this channel, as good as these movies were, they were 3 separate movies. They were, that's just how they were produced. I've seen a lot of people admit that, if Rian Johnson had done this trilogy, it could have been an absolute all-time masterpiece, which it still is. Don't get me wrong. I love all 3 of these movies to no end.
So do I.
But I have seen that online where people are like, if Rian Johnson did all 3 of these movies, imagine that. Like, that could have been wild.
I don't think my mind can possibly imagine that.
Like, if they said, Ryan, you got these next 3, have at it. Like, that could have been crazy. But you know what? To their credit, they said, Ryan, why don't you say, forget these guys, get yourselves your own Star Wars and you do your thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. I can't wait for that to come out. If it comes out, I hope. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, that comes out. Where are we? We just got totally off track. This is fantastic. I love doing this.
Just finished talking about my least favorite experience.
Okay, so let's talk about then the stuff that was most disappointing for you as a fan.
Most disappointing, again, it's probably the first viewing of the Clone Wars, but I will change my answer so that I'm not boring. And I will say that it's the most disappointing part is probably for me seeing the reaction to The Last Jedi change in the first few months after it came out. Because obviously, I wasn't a part of Star Wars Twitter back then. I don't think a lot of the people that I'm friends with were. But I remember seeing online, people loved that movie. At least the stuff that I was seeing, people loved that movie. And then it was when the bigger sort of content creators on YouTube started going out like, oh, this is a problem. You started to see the tide slowly shift. And I don't know if that's just the minority getting larger, like vocally, or if people were genuinely starting to shift over because of the opinions they were seeing. But for me, for someone who loved it from start to finish and who still loves it to this day, it was really disappointing seeing that shift where people were like, oh yeah, this isn't a good movie. Let's start just hating on it, abusing anyone that likes it. So
I definitely get that. There was a paradigm shift there for a time when people there was a lot. I know there's a lot of people. They are never going to come out. You're never going to see those people. It's a lost generation of people that probably loved that movie when they walked out of the movie theater and then got on YouTube and got on Twitter and saw their popular opinions from the Star Wars channels that we all know. I'm not going to say them, but we all know who I'm talking. We all know the 5 or 6 that I'm talking about. Started talking crap about The Last Jedi, and their opinions were changed because these people are influencers. They got a big following.
I mean, funnily enough, this literally only came back into my mind a few months ago, because when I was working a night shift at my job, I was listening to a podcast, and it was of a podcast I've been listening to for years, and they were talking back on The Last Jedi, and they were all making jokes on how bad it was and how it almost ruined the franchise. And I'm like, hold on a second. I listened to your review at the time. You were all calling it a masterpiece. You were calling it the best Star Wars film ever. You did a review a few months later when it came out on Blu-ray. Again, you were still loving it. So I feel like it's just some people saw their favourite content creator hating on it and thinking, oh, maybe it's not the film that I thought it was, which I think is wrong. But people know how I feel about opinions. And I also do feel that people sometimes do see the popular opinion and think, oh, that must be the right one. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of it too, Jordan, is that a lot of these people that watch these channels see these people as authority. The 5 or 6 YouTube channels that we're talking about, a lot of their followers see them as authority on movies, and they see them as an actual source, which is why we see it on Twitter all the time. Like, oh, what's your source, bro? And they say one of those channels, and you're like, that's not a source. That's not real news. But they see them as an authority figure on how movies should be graded. And that's why a lot of people I think hate that movie. And they're always talking about making up your own mind, think for yourself, stop being with the herd mentality. When in fact, they are a victim of the herd mentality.
Exactly.
Which is strange. That's always been strange to me. And you know what? Admittedly, The Last Jedi, I will tell you right now, we had this conversation off air. Movie-wise, The Last Jedi, wow. I mean, just from a movie-making standpoint, from a guy that has made movies, that knows how to make movies, that was fantastic. The Empire Strikes Back and The Last Jedi, you're looking at movies right there. I mean, you're looking at cinema. As a Star Wars fan, there were things in The Last Jedi, admittedly, I didn't like. But there are things in every Star Wars movie that I'm like, I don't really like that. But to be honest with you, the highs of The Last Jedi, the best moments of that movie just blow me out of the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Yoda and Luke is fantastic. When the hyperspace ramming is fantastic. When that whole thing goes black, you're freaking out. Luke walking out and fighting Kylo Ren. I mean, there are just times in that movie where you're just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, I will even admit there was points in The Last Jedi where I'm like, I don't know about that. But saying that, it's just such an amazing movie. Like from a construction standpoint, like everything in the movie is done so well. You can tell that everything done in the film has thought behind it, which I think some films under big corporate companies lose that sense of sort of personal touch now. And just the fact that it feels, now that I've went back and been able to see all of Rian Johnson's movies, it just feels like a Rian Johnson movie, if that makes sense.
Rian Johnson has such a grasp on complete filmmaking. There's a lot of the things that get lost, like you're talking about in these large corporate movies, are the way every story element works together and feeds off each other and works back, and it's one big web, right? And a lot of the times a corporate movie, a franchise movie like Star Wars or a Marvel movie or a DC movie doesn't really have that connective tissue all throughout the movie. And Rian Johnson seemingly worked that into a middle film of a franchise, with flawlessness. Like every part of that movie just works off each other so well.
Yeah, I mean, that's I agree with you there. And I will admit, I will even side with the people that say this sort of thing on Twitter. Everything in that movie flows so well with each other. Fair enough, with the other two sandwiched on either side of it, might not flow as well when you watch it all the way through. But
certainly,
judging it separately as it is, which is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, it is an amazing movie. I think there is so much to be loved about it. Albeit, like I said, there is issues, but why talk about the issues when you can just sit and vent for hours and hours about the things that you love about it?
And that's what it's all about, really. And that's something that I say on this channel all the time. It's like, why are we spending our time wasting our breath talking about, the stuff that we hated about these movies when there are so much more things that we love about it. Like, that's the stuff we really should be talking about. So totally get you there, my friend. Here's a good question that I always ask people. I'm getting interrupted in the middle of an interview. Can you believe this? Anyway, here's a question I love asking people. If you were given a blank check, you've heard this question. I know you've thought about this. You're given a blank check. I'm only asking because the viewers may not have heard. If you were given a blank check from Disney, from Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, she comes up to you and she says, Jordan, I want you to write a Star Wars movie. Here's a blank check. You write as much money as you want into that check. What story are you going to write?
I mean, that's just more money to actually adapt to my sequel trilogy that I'm working on right now.
That's what I'm talking about. So you're going after the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I kind of want to, I'd love to develop what happens next. I mean, obviously people know that I am attempting to write that right now. But I'd love to see what happens next with Rey. Finn, we know he's Force sensitive. I'd love to see Finn's transformation into a full-blown Jedi. I'd love to see what big bad they face next that could trump the rest, which I've had fun trying to do. It's been a great experience doing that, and I hope I've done it. But that would be fun to adapt something like that into a film, get the gang back together. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, everybody like that. Although if I'm going away from that, if I say this sequel trilogy just isn't happening, I would love to see this going post-TROS again. I'd love to see maybe a Disney Plus series of Finn and Jaina looking for stormtroopers. Obviously the First Order has collapsed. There's going to be a lot of them out there, like we've seen in The Mandalorian with the Empire falling. That could be an interesting concept. Also, I see it from time to time on Twitter. I kind of want to see a bit more of Rose and her sister Paige. I feel like that could be something that's worth exploring, even if it's only a short, like we're getting the rumored Kenobi series, which is 4 episodes, even something like that. For Paige and Rose, just seeing how they were introduced into this fight, I feel like that's definitely something worth seeing.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I think there's a lot of stories to be told from this sequel trilogy. I think that there are hundreds of stories that can be told, and I can't wait. Just like you can, I every day I wait for the news of something that's going to be post-TROS. I'm waiting for something, Jedi Knight Rey and young new Jedi Finn. I'm just waiting for the day that comes out. Now I have not read your brainstormed ideas, whatever you've got written down.
It's only 5 chapters in so far.
My friend, I can't wait for that. I really, really can't. How do you think about releasing that? Like, are you ever going to release it, or is it going to be like an audio play, or what is it?
It's literally just a case of the site Wattpad or Wattpad. I don't know how people want to pronounce it.
Yeah,
I'm literally just updating it as I go along. The first 5 chapters that I've written, they are available to read like right now as we speak, and it's just going to continue like that because I don't want to. Like, people have said to me a few times, like before I joined Star Wars Twitter, if you're struggling with YouTube, why do you set up a Patreon? I mean, first of all, I don't have the audience for that.
No.
Second of all, I can't justify myself selling to people that genuinely enjoy my content. Like, for example, that's why I've got the Media13 shirts. People have asked if they can buy them, probably jokingly, mind you, but I've just said, like, I don't really want to put them on sale because I don't want to get money off of my fans for them. You don't have to show me your appreciation through money. It's just giving me feedback, giving me, constructive criticism. Anything like that works better than money ever could. So yeah, it's being released for free. I don't know, maybe in future I might try and somehow do an audio type thing, but for now it's just you can read it.
Very interesting. Well, it'll be down in the description. If anybody wants to go check out Jordan's What Happens Post-TROS, it'll be down in the description. Absolutely, you can go check that out. All right, I got a couple more questions here for you. I got a couple of really good ones coming up for you. I want to first ask you, what is the most shameless Star Wars purchase that you have ever made? And don't say my T-shirt. You're not allowed to say my T-shirt.
I'm wearing it right now. I'm
Are you really?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am so proud I own this T-shirt. But shameless Star Wars purchases. Where do I begin? I'm staring at so many of them right now. I mean, the Rey statue. That's one of them. That's my pride and joy. Worth every single bit of money I spent on that. Saying that though, I don't think I've ever cared for something non-living as much as I have this Baby Yoda. So that's also an option.
Yeah.
The X-Wing helmet, I feel like that's got to be in the conversation.
Listen to me, Jordan. I want to get one of those before Squadrons comes out because I'm going to put that thing on. As soon as I turn on Squadrons, I'm going to slip that helmet on like a weenie. I gotta get one.
Should I be embarrassed to admit that that was at the front of my mind as I was pressing add to cart?
No, absolutely not. I'm sure there are so many people
on my TV with the lights off.
No, that's gonna be me too. I want to get the joystick too because they just announced that the throttle is gonna be available for console. So I'm like, yes,
really?
Yes. I have not made a video on it. I should though, because they were wishy-washy about it for a while. They're like, oh, we don't know quite yet. We're gonna have to work out some things. But they just announced that the throttle, like the airplane, the fighter pilot throttle, the stick will be available for PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, the console. So I was get the X-Wing helmet on, get the throttle going. Ooh, my brain's gonna be melting.
So is mine.
It's gonna be crazy, dude. Anyway, so Rey statue, which probably cost you a pretty penny, did it not?
£180 on top of like the 150 that I'd already spent on Star Wars stuff that day.
Ooh.
It was a fun conversation that I had with my parents afterwards when they saw what I'd bought. But I don't know. I've never been more certain when I've laid my eyes on something that is coming home with me. I'm buying that no matter what. And there's actually a complication with it because I saw it in the morning because we went to the shop twice. So I saw it in the morning. I said to my friend, look, I'm buying that. So we're going to come back later. I'm going to get my picture with the giant Chewbacca Funko Pop and I'm going to buy this statue. The Chewbacca Funko Pop is a whole other story. So we came back, but 5 minutes before the shop closed. They must have hated me because I went up there and like, look, I see that statue in the cabinet there. Is it all right if I get that one? They're like, yeah, that's sure. They walk over to it. They check the top of the shelf. There's no box.
Oh God.
So they're saying to me, oh, but there might be a problem with this one. There's no box. I was like, oh no. But I didn't say that out loud, but the disappointment on my face must have been there. And then they said, well, if you hang on a second, we'll go upstairs, we'll check and see if there's a spare box sitting around. Luckily enough, there was. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done, but...
Wow. Sometimes that stuff is just meant to be, man. Sometimes you just see something and like, you're like, I gotta get it, and there you go. You have it. And you don't regret it now. Like now that like feeds into like you being like, this was just, I had to get this.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's probably, it's in the background of all the YouTube videos. It's on the top of the shelf. For me, it's the pinnacle of the collection of stuff that I have sitting here. She's sitting beside a massive BB-8, but like, let's be real. No BB-8 or Baby Yoda can come close to a Rey statue that's just so detailed as well.
Wow, that's gotta be really. I don't have many statues. I should get one, and maybe I'll get Rey. But I don't want to steal your thunder. That's kind of your thing. I'm gonna leave that to you. Not at all. Wow.
The more Rey fans on Twitter, the better. That's the way I see it.
Definitely, absolutely. You are so right there. All right, so let's end it with this one then, Jordan. Let's end it with this question. What way has Star Wars impacted your life? Probably the most. Which way has it impacted you the most?
Well, to be cheesy and to go with the theme of Star Wars, it's given me a lot of hope. It's for so long, it's been at times the light at the end of a very long dark tunnel. I knew no matter how bad my day was, I could go home, I could put it on, and just all of it was forgotten. But on top of that, more than anything else, it's introduced me to some of the best friends that I've ever had in the past few months since joining Twitter. And for me, that's always going to be better than what any of the films could give me. As much as I love The Force Awakens, as much as I love The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, any of the films, nothing comes close to the people that I've met as a result of these films. The likes of you, Olivia, Chloe, and just so many other people. Yeah, I'll always be grateful to Star Wars because of that reason.
Wow. How do you end it better than that right there? How do you end it better than that? Jordan, I have a meme on my phone where it says, "That's what Star Wars is all about, Charlie Brown." And that's it. I mean, so many people think about all the people over the years, not just us, but not even just our friends on Twitter, but over the years, all the people that met at Star Wars Celebration, all the people that met at going to Star Wars movies, all the people that met going to Disney and going down to Star Wars. Like, how many people have met just through Star Wars alone is incredible. The amount of people that have gotten married, like, because of their love of Star Wars together is like, you see it on like Facebook or whatever all the time. Someone has like a Star Wars themed wedding. Like, I know. That's amazing. My only dream in life is to get married and have lightsabers at the ceremony, which is not how I wanted to end this interview, but that's how it's gonna have to go. Jordan, you have something to plug, my friend. I think
I do. I'm gonna tease it even further. I'm gonna say a few other things first. So first of all, obviously, Media13, you introduced me earlier. Yes. I am all about film positivity over on the YouTube channel. I'm a firm believer that every film has something to love. Every film has some good aspect, and more importantly, that film that you are sitting thinking of tweeting about how you don't like it, that is someone's favourite movie, and that is the sort of thing that I'm trying to emphasise. Like, no matter, you need to consider, fair enough, you're allowed your opinion, but to hate on the movie blindly when that is someone's favourite movie is, in my opinion, a bit wrong. I feel like some people just blindly hate stuff for the sake of hating it. And I kind of want to change that, even if it's pushing a little bit of positivity with each video every 2 weeks. But yeah, there's that. Obviously, there's also the Twitter, SWFanJordan. I've tried changing the @ a few times, but nothing ever stuck. It's become iconic at this point, I think.
It really has. I mean, 1,500 people think so. So can't argue with the numbers, man.
Yeah, and follow me on there if you want some to be spammed with posters on the daily.
He does spam the posters. They're very nice, but he does spam
them. As long as they're nice, that's the main thing.
They're great, man. They're so cool looking.
The moment that I'm sure some people are excited to hear about, I hope some people are excited to hear about.
Oh, they are, trust me.
The new Media13 Star Wars project. Now, as was the last one, obviously it was 4 parts. This one is going to be 4 parts as well. I did tease on the timeline that I was putting out feelers for if anyone wanted to be a part of the project. I'm now confirming that the reason this isn't in production yet is because it's a project covering all 11 of the films, not including the animated Clone Wars film, which means I'm going to ask for 11 different collaborations, so a different person for every single film. And at the core of this 4-part miniseries is one simple message, and it's that these films mean something to someone. I'm hoping it might be difficult with The Phantom Menace and maybe another one, but I'm hoping to get the guest for that film, for that to be their favourite movie, because then you can see firsthand from someone that loves that movie what it means to them, how they connect with it, and why it is more than that film that you don't like. There is more than one angle to every single one, and it's just an attempt for me, honestly, to try and push a bit more positivity for each of the films.
This sounds fantastic.
This isn't, it's in early production right now. I don't have a title for this miniseries yet. I've got early skeleton scripts, nothing more than that. I've not got any people lined up. So, if you want to hop in on it, just let me know what film you want to be a part of, and I can make that happen.
Me? Talking with my Hans on Media13?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God. See, wow. This is why I do the fan-terviews, because I get to go be with people that are more famous than me. So this is fantastic. You're kidding. Actually, I would kill to be on this series. Thank you for asking. I will be in contact with you about this. And this is
that's
something.
all good. You'll be one of the first to know any updates that are happening with it then.
Let's go, guys. This is why I started YouTube, so I can hang out with people that are way cooler than me. This is fantastic. Listen to me, Jordan. Jokes aside, this idea sounds really, really cool. This is actually a baller idea. I cannot wait for this. Because you're right. There are so many movies out there that people just hate on without thinking about, hey, that kid might really love this movie and he might have a different opinion. This is great. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, if it helps people, I don't care how poorly the videos do, as long as it helps some people acknowledge that there is more to that movie that they are indifferent about, or if they just blindly hate on, I consider that a success. If 2 people watch that and the message gets across, that's a success as far as I'm aware.
Absolutely. That's what Star Wars is all about, Charlie Brown. That is it. My friend, Jordan, from Star Wars Twitter, SW Fan Jordan, right? I got that right? It's literally right here on the screen. Yep. It's right here under the bubble. And then, of course, Media13 here on YouTube. Make sure that you guys subscribe. Really high quality content over there. I mean, absolutely out of this world. This guy just puts his whole heart and soul into every single video, and it so shines through. I love watching this guy's stuff. I told him that he is one of those people that just bounces around in my head when I think about Star Wars Twitter, when I think about Star Wars content in general. You can just see how much he loves and cares for it. And from one Star Wars fan to another, there is nothing more than watching somebody that cares for Star Wars so much and seeing it show on screen. It's just a fantastic feeling. I thank you so much, Jordan, for coming on FAN-terviews. This has been absolutely incredible.
Again, thank you so much for having me. I just want to say the same that you just said for me with the YouTube channel, with the Star Wars Twitter, the same could be said for you. You are making this series, FAN-terviews. You are making people aware of this side of Star Wars Twitter that is trying to push positivity. You are the reason that this is happening at all. I only decided I was going to start Star Wars content because I was inspired by your channel. I mean, the Rey video, the Finn video, people might not know this because they were quite early on my account, but originally the scripts for those videos were scrapped and I just threw them on Twitter. And it was seeing your content that made me think, maybe I can try Star Wars one last time. And yeah, it's paid off. So really, it's all down to you, man.
You're warming my heart, man. This is killing me here. You're gonna make me shed a tear over here. Stop that, man. Come on, you're gonna make a dude cry. That's not cool. All right. Thank you, Jordan, so much. Kind words. Fantastic follow on Twitter. A even better subscription here on the good old YouTube. And listen, guys, viewers, after you go and subscribe to Jordan and follow Jordan and check out his Wattpad or however you pronounce it, all this stuff will be in the description. Make sure you give the video a like. Make sure you guys comment. If you love seeing Jordan, comment who else you want to see on here. I'm trying to get so many guests. I actually have a couple of really cool guests lined up to come on. So hopefully everybody sticks around. For those, of course, if you love FAN-terviews, give it a like. If you love the channel, give me a subscribe. Go follow me on Twitter at @TalkingWithMyHans_. You guys know the drill by now. And once again, thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of FAN-terviews. We will see you on episode 5. And until then, I will see you guys later.